Continue to learn and continue to grow as a coach.
When the situation presented itself, was it a no-brainer? You have other opportunities, or was this just a slam dunk to come back?
Well, for me, probably more than just an average guy that maybe didn't know Scott or didn't know this place or what this place was about. It probably would have there probably would have been, I guess, more of a thought process for me once the opportunity was there, and after I had a conversation with Coach Frost, then it was an easy choice for me.
And then moving position groups, it's nothing that you haven't coached before. So what is it? Just you're all coaches, but your label says this now.
Yeah, for me, since the time I started coaching, I've kind of bounced around between even the offensive line, the defensive line. I've coached inside linebackers. I've coached outside linebackers. I've kind of lived in that box throughout my career. I'm always really good at coaching everybody else's guys too, and being Mr. Know-It-All. So it's a good chance for me to kind of get back with the linebackers. Be tied into the coverage as well as the front. I think coaching outside linebackers is a little bit unique, especially in this system, because you're playing one play you could be playing defensive line, doing a defensive line job. The next play you could be doing a linebacker job, and the next play you could be doing what is typically a safety job. So there's a lot of flexibility for that. Well, for the players playing that position, and then for me as a coach, it helps me get tied into the entire system, both the front end and the back end, which I like.
Is it kind of weird though that you recruited and coach a lot of those guys in that defensive line, and now somebody else has them, and you're all working together, but you got a different group?
Yeah, it is a little bit different, I guess. I don't know how many times this situation has happened in college football where you go and then a year later you're back. My office has moved 3 doors down and different meeting room, and the guys that you build relationships with those guys over recruiting and also having those guys in the room with you for a year. So there's a lot of those guys that come over and you get to see them. But that's part of the reason why I'm so excited to come back. That young group of guys working up front there, and even watching them run around a little bit in practice today was pretty exciting. They look good, and Coach Tony's doing a great job with them. So it's going to be a lot of fun being around those guys. Yeah, we still get to hang out. Now, don't worry, I'll still bark at them when I need to. They know that. So.
What about your group of guys that did outside linebacker? What stands out about the current group?
Yeah, they're very eager. A bunch of guys that want to get better. I think that they probably read the internet as good as anyone. And they don't want to be the group getting signaled out. Hey, we got to get better at pass rush. We got to do a better job setting the edge. I think they know and understand that, and they're eager to get that done. So we have a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work ahead of us. I think any time after a season, you work your self-scout and you kind of go back and see what you did well and see what you didn't do well and try to improve it. So whether it was Jovan sitting here or me sitting here, I think that it would be probably a similar type of story. We need to get better at doing what we're doing, and these guys are eager to get that done.
Those guys, your prototypical pass rusher, some of the highest coveted guys coming out of high school, there's a transfer, they're going to be heavily recruited. Do you have to be 6'4" and 250 and as twitchy as all get out to rush the passer effectively?
I mean, that would be helpful. I think everybody has assets and liabilities. I mean, you can maybe be I had Marcus Golden this past year. He's a guy that, he's not 6'4", but he had double-digit sacks. I mean, he's got different assets that he uses. So I think certainly, everybody wants to be bigger, faster, and stronger. I don't think that changes anywhere. And then if you're a quick twitch, then it can be different. So, probably has to be a total work of a guy. How big is he compared to how twitchy or how fast, how strong he is? What and some guys have a knack. What is that? Like they use the quarterbacks. Oh, he has it. Well, that probably goes along with pass rushing and playing the game and having the ability to find the ball. Luke Kuechly was a guy. He had whatever it is that always found the ball when we were coaching him back in college. So obviously he's a great player. Not that he doesn't have all those other things too, but they all tie in together certainly.
What are your early impressions of Garrett Nelson?
I think Garrett's very intense. I think that's easy to see. You just watch him walk around. I was a fan last year, so I was watching the games and obviously knew him from the recruiting process, and then being in the room with him now. He's super intense. He cares about it a lot. I think he wears his emotions on his sleeve that way, and wants to learn how to do it and wants to get better. So an intense guy that's going to go a long way.
What was that like for you, sitting on a Saturday afternoon watching Nebraska? What was that like?
The anxiety level was probably high. It just for me, for however it worked out, I got to either if I wasn't watching games, like we had a home game, we always had that kind of block of time off where I got to see most of the games when we weren't traveling. If we were traveling, I would always, get on XM and listen to Greg and Matt call the game, which was kind of neat. But there was obviously I wanted success for the guys that I had coached with and the guys that you had recruited and coached and things like that. So, I was rooting just as hard as everybody else was for them, for sure.
How do you see that outside backer position evolving, if at all, in now year 3 of this defensive system in the Big Ten? I mean, it seems that maybe some of the guys that recruited in this last class are, I don't know if you want to say bigger or more like defensive ends almost in a 4-3 than the ones that you had to work with when this defensive staff started here.
So for me, I think that different skill sets are always going to come into play, but you want big guys that can be physical, and especially in the Big Ten, like you kind of pointed out. You got to be physical. You got to be able to set the edge in the run game. You got to be able to stop the runner first, second down. So you're rushing the quarterback when it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. Give yourself a chance. If you're rushing the quarterback, it's 3rd and 3. That's not going to be a very fun day. It's not going to leave a lot of sacks. So you got to have some size. You got to be able to set the edge. You got to be able to play with good technique.
So that said, how do you envision JoJo in this system working for you this year?
Yeah, JoJo's a guy that's he's kind of got a unique skill set where he's been a DB. He's played that outside linebacker position. And really for us, the way that we kind of have grown our packages, that's kind of like a nickel position in some personnel groupings. We're playing against a team with one running back, one tight end in the game. We're going to walk that guy out over a slot receiver. A lot of times you want to have a nickel in the game anyways. Now, he's bigger than a typical nickel DB would be. He's a little bit heavier than that, so he's probably got a little bit more of an edge that way. And then he's got the skill set to go out and play DB. So good combination of both.
You were part of that staff that recruited Caleb Tanner, and he was sort of a guy. He's highly recruited, obviously, coming out of high school. When you got back here, what were your first conversations with him? What's the key for him to go from having shown signs of being able to do it to being able to do it consistently?
Yeah, well, I think the last part of that question is probably the answer. He's got to develop consistency in everything he's doing. That's how you get bigger, faster, and stronger, whether it's working out, training, the recovery aspects, which a lot of young guys get kind of numb to. Hey, are you eating the right stuff? Are you sleeping? Are you doing all those things? So he's got to do that stuff off the field, and then on the field, he's got to be more consistent in his play. And I think that they kind of transfer over. Obviously, as strong as he can get is going to help him. He's got to be as strong as he can be, and then know the system so he can play fast all the time. You kind of saw some glimpses of that last year with him, but now he's you're not a young guy anymore. You got to be able to do that on a consistent basis and take those reps.
How much crossover as far as training and just knowledge of what your guys need to know exists between your group and Barrett's group?
We do have to work together pretty well. Probably work closer with Tony's group. We turn into D linemen probably more than anything else, if I had to say. But Barrett's guys, they get the toughest. I'll say it all the time. They get the toughest job in the field in this defense. They have the most calls to make, the most alerts to be ready for, and things like that. So they got to be on their game. We have to know. Part of communication is the listening part, right? So those guys have to make those calls and the checks. Our guys have to be ready. They have to know what they're listening for, what to anticipate. So if they can do that, that helps them. That helps the inside backers when they know that the outside linebackers that they have that they're communicating with know what to listen for and know how to listen. That's part of that communication.
You've obviously done stuff with special teams before, and Scott talked earlier about his plan this year to have so much of it coordinated in the office with Rutledge, and then communicated to the guys on the field to be able to implement across the whole group of assistant coaches. How do you envision that playing out as far as the coordination or the cooperation between so many different people to make that go?
Yeah, I think that Rutt's kind of in the command center and doing it and kind of giving us the vision and all that kind of stuff. And then for me, as a guy that grew up as a quote unquote 1AA coach, or going back to my Maine or New Hampshire days, if you're coaching a linebacker, you're coaching every single special team. That part of the job. You don't have as many coaches, obviously not as big a staff. And then my time at Boston College doing the special teams. Made me sit there and learn it and kind of hone in my skills and all that stuff. So I have strong opinions about it and kind of know what I would look for and be talking about. So I think that's a big piece of it. But for a player, I always say special teams is the most pure part. That's like football boiled down to like that 40-yard sprint where you're running down the field and you're going to go make a play. And that's kind of how we all started playing in the playground. And same thing for the coaches. It's an explosive play every single. If you give a 40-yard run or a 40-yard pass, or you have a 40-yard run and you hit, everybody gets to the stadium, goes nuts, right? Every single special teams play is like that. All those are all 40-yard plays that you got to be able. So they're very important, and you got to have the passion and desire to be able to do it. And I think that's part of being a coach. I'm looking forward to it.
Some of your guys in particular, can be high impact special teams guys, right? I mean, I know. Like Blaise Gunnarsson, talked about wanting to play special teams, as a goal in his first year. What do you when you hear that? When he says that, what do you think?
Yeah, I should hope he does. Then my question is the guys that are the other way. Hey, like they think number one, I don't want to play on, or I'm too good for him. Once again, spending last year in the NFL and then 3 years prior to that. You better play on special teams if you want to play, or if you want to keep your career going. So I hope that they do. And then the key to it is not only wanting to be on them, but wanting to excel at them. So to me, that part of this deal, you got to have that culture where not only do I want to be on it, I'm going to be on it. I'm going to get after somebody's backside. I was trying to say it the right way.
What's going to be your role? Like, do you have a specific position group or like you kick off, or, you know what I mean? Like,
I think heavy in the punt, but all of them. I'm gonna we're all in the room together. So for me, the more I can help, the more eyes on, and even if it's, hey, Mike, if Rhett says, hey, I want you to watch this one guy on this play, great. Just give me something to do, and I'm not gonna stand out there and drink Scott's Gatorade or something like that on the sideline. So as much as I can do on it, I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be fun to get involved in that phase of the game, which when I was with the D-line, you're just not part of that deal as much. So I'm excited about it.
You recruited Blaise Gunnarsson for a long time, going back to when you were here the first time. Now that you've got him here, I know he had some off-season surgery and stuff after his high school career ended, but what kind of player do you see so far? And he's got some of those measurables that you're talking about.
Sure. Blaise has the measurables that you look for. Kind of, if you were going to draw it up or write it up and say, hey, what does a NFL outside linebacker look like? He kind of checks all those boxes. The thing that I've been more impressed about with him is he's a guy that technically should still be in high school, should still be a senior in high school, and he's here already. Extremely intelligent, seems to have a good grasp. He not only asks questions, which sometimes young guys like that wouldn't ask the questions, but not only does he ask the questions, he asks questions that are good. Hey, this is the next step of thinking, or he's not asking a question, something, just repeating something I just said, just to hear himself ask a question. It's something that, hey, you know what, this guy's really paying attention. He's diving in. He's getting ready to take the next step on it. And we haven't obviously had a ton of time together. After I got hired, then we went out recruiting. Kind of just got back, but so far from what he's done that way, that part's been impressive about him. I'm excited to coach him.
Was that whiplash going from working in the NFL to being right back on?
The recruiting. There was some of the guys that I have long standing relationships, especially in the Northeast and New Jersey and New York and stuff. They were kind of giggling. You're back again. Yeah, absolutely. So there's a little bit of that, but it's like riding a bike. You just get back on it, you keep on going. So it gets you right back into it.
Do you feel like you've settled yet? Like, do you feel like have you settled down in Lincoln? Like, do you feel like things are slowing down a little bit?
Well,
it's been kind of a whirlwind,
the part that stinks, truthfully, if you guys want to know the real deal, the part is this 3 years in a row going through that kind of end of January, February stretch where my wife and my son are, finished school and we're transitioning, selling one house, moving into another house, and all that kind of stuff. Once they get here and we kind of get locked in, I think that's when that will hit. The going back and forth, and or them having to come back and forth, things like that. That's probably the most stressful part of it.
Sure.
And then being away, not sleeping in your own bed. You're kind of hopping around, whether it's in hotels or staying with somebody or whatever. That part's what gets. Whatever. That's the not so fun part.
Right.
But once we get in the house and kind of get all our stuff here, I think the great part for us is we know where we're going here. We know what area we want to be in. We know what where to go get something to eat, or where we're going to hang out, or what sports teams to get my son on, or stuff like that. We kind of that's a positive, opposed to just starting completely over again.
So you're like shooting for the same neighborhood.
So the deal with him, right? He's ready to get a new dad. We come to one place and we got to move him, and then we got to move again. So he was over the elementary school that he feeds into the middle school. So we're going to make sure that we're in that area. So he's not. So he knows some of the kids, knows the faces where it's. if we lived on the other end of town, we might as well be in another city for him, for his sake or whatever. So we're going to try to live near where we lived last time. Yeah.
So you're just like in a hotel right now?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Either in a hotel or staying with somebody. Or I've known obviously the guys on the staff long enough where I have some connections with these guys where they're like, all right, big guy, come on, I'll listen to you snore for a couple nights, but I try not to wear out my welcome. That's for sure.
This is a little off topic, but so you were with the Giants. That was Eli's last year, right? What was that like?
He was awesome. There is never going to be a player that ever tells me, I don't like the role that I have. And this is a Hall of Fame guy. Number one, I couldn't tell you what a nice guy he is. Funny. He's got a sense of humor. He's not loud and boisterous, but when he says stuff, obviously he's extremely intelligent, very funny. I didn't deal with him a ton on day to day, but he ran the scout team as a Hall of Fame, quarterback. And then all of a sudden he was playing again, and he freaking went out and kicked butt. So he was. It was great just to be around him. Like I said, it's not like I was with him all the time or anything like that, but I had a ton of respect for Eli, certainly.
Damian Jackson and Jackson Hanna are listed at outside linebacker now after being at other spots last year. What do those guys bring to your room?
So probably working more with Damian than Jackson. But the Damian was in my room 2 years ago, and now he's in my room again. So we've got to know each other pretty well, and he kind of knows what makes me tick, sometimes in a positive or a negative manner. But it's good. It's always good having him around. He brings instant leadership with credibility with the guys right away, which is good. And I even used him as obviously hitting the ground running today. We haven't done the drills before, so some of the drills kind of carried over. The ones that did, I said, all right, Damien, you know this drill. Let's show these guys how to do it, and bang, away we go. So
how rare is it to have a player like that really has no real football experience to be able to command that kind of leadership in a room like he has?
It's got to be a unique situation. If he had spent 6 years backpacking Europe and then came back, I don't know that he would command that. But I think we all know with what he's done and what he's kind of been about that that's where he's going to command that type of respect. You know what I mean? Sometimes I always got to check myself, and I start yelling at him a little bit. He might snap on me right now. Yeah, but he's awesome about it. I think he's a guy that he has a lot of pride. He wants to be good at doing this, and he's a guy that put his mind to it. And it takes obviously he has a lot of courage, but it takes some to do something like this, especially here. After not doing it. Now, obviously, when you meet him, I mean, he's a big, strong man. I think he's 28 or something like that. So it's not like he's a little guy or a little kid or something like that.
The staff has a few recruiting classes in the books now here in Nebraska. Has kind of what you guys are looking for changed or evolved since before you left to what you guys are looking for now, whether your position or just in general?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that first class we kind of transitioning from UCF to here, that was probably a little bit different, maybe kind of brought in a little bit different of a crew than what you would have had if you had a full recruiting cycle. And then I think that started changing in last recruiting cycle and then probably continued to grow throughout this past class. So we have the same as everybody else. We got to keep going and getting the best prospects that we can get that fit us, fit our personalities, fit our scheme, and so we can make it work and have it be successful.
When you look at some of the guys in your group that get here this summer, a guy like Jamari Butler who played 1 year of high school ball, what do you see with him? That's a pretty tough part of the country that he just decided he was going to pick up high school football.
Yeah, no question about it. To me, this game is evolving so much, even year to year now. I mean, this is a different sport than when I played. I mean, it just is. And some of the old time guys, the guys that are my age, all right, so I'll qualify it that way, to come back and it's a different sport than when we all played, with the emphasis on safety and concussions, and the way that the RPOs have changed the game, and the speed and the tempo of it, all that stuff has changed. So the game's constantly evolving, and we have to do the same thing when we are as we're recruiting these guys and bringing these guys in. So to answer your question, with a guy that hasn't played as much, sometimes that's okay because you don't have to teach them break old habits to start building new habits. So there's some positives you can take out of it, and then you also can go through the negatives that happen. Well, this guy doesn't have a ton of experience. He doesn't know, hey, when you do that, the result is going to be this. Don't do that anymore. Where some of those guys can learn that stuff in high school, and especially the guys that come out of the good programs with good coaches and things like that. So there's definitely positives and negatives, but you try to pull out the positives that you can with each guy.
Scott was kind of talking earlier about special teams and kind of how you guys are emphasizing it as a staff. I apologize if you've been asked this already, but
You just cleared the room.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you.
now we can ask about it earlier one.
Yeah, you can ask it. Fire away.
But I mean, is there more of a sense of urgency around special teams, given maybe how things kind of played out last year?
Yeah, I think there's a sense of urgency. I think there's more of a sense of urgency in everything we're doing, given how everything played out last year. I think everybody on this staff is very competitive, very prideful. Coach Frost is a guy that he's going to try to win at everything that he does. Everything is competition. So I think that bar has been raised. I think that everybody on the staff knows that, hey, we have to improve ourselves in all areas, special teams being one of them, but not certainly the only one of them.
I mean, you're a past special teams coordinator. I mean, do you find that that's an area that you can change and improve fairly quickly, or is that something that takes a couple of years to kind of get hammered out?
Yeah, I think that probably a lot of it you have to. It's a mixture. You got to have playmakers, right? You get really good guys, then you become a lot better. We had Mike Hughes, our second year at UCF. He's your kick and punt returner. You're going to get a lot better like that.
Right.
So at certain positions, you're going to have a big impact. They'll make a big swing. And then you continue to grow. We kind of talked a little bit about. Not only do you have to want to play on special teams, but you want to have to play great on special teams. If you want your special teams to be successful, and if you probably want to be a successful player at the next level, if you want to make it to the NFL, which a lot of guys have that aspiration, that's what they want to do. I've seen it up front now on two different occasions where if you want to play in that league, you better be able to bring special teams value. Otherwise, they're going to find somebody else who can. So, unless you're a Hall of Fame player or something like that, then maybe you can get away with it, sure. But those guys are so far and few in between that you have to be able to be a good special teams player.
What was that initial reception like the first time you got back and you got to meet with the players after coming back here?
Yeah, I think that we have a great bunch of guys. I think for me, to my face, it was very positive, But I was excited to see a lot of the guys that I had either coached or been in the recruiting process, and I felt like it was reciprocated that those guys were, excited to see me, and glad that we're all back together. So I'm going to take it as positive, and hopefully we keep going with it.
Did you get your old office back?
No, it's weird. I keep going in the wrong door. Tony's got my old office. Obviously, when I left, that was what was opened up. So I got a different office, different locker, things like that, different meeting room. So I got to, just learn my pattern a little bit, get that squared away. So that's about it.
You were kind of talking a little bit about maybe the challenges, I guess, the RPOs and kind of what that does for playing against a defense. Do you find that the outside linebacker is kind of a difficult position to maybe recruit from out of the high school ranks because of maybe what guys are asked to do is a little bit more unique, playing in space?
Yeah, I think that it's in this type of defense, and all the defenses, right? The 4-3 teams transition to 3-4, and the 3-4 teams transition to 4-3, and they kind of swing back and forth. Otherwise, you could probably just get, these offenses are so smart now that they just pick your apart. So you got to be able to give the different looks and be in and out of things. But the outside or edge, I guess, is what everybody's calling them now, whether they're DNs or outside linebackers. They could be playing D-line on one play, linebacker on the next play, and safety on the next play. So it's difficult, and they got to know how those different positions affect. Hey, am I taking this on with my inside shoulder or my outside shoulder? Where am I rushing inside or rushing outside? Am I a spill blitzer or a hammer blitzer? What kind of technique am I using? I think that certainly is something that's hard on these guys. And then you start implementing the RPOs and the zone read stuff. It's like you're playing against the triple option and against the spread offense at the same time, where guys are all of a sudden they can be running down the field in the pass game where you got to rush quarterback, or, hey, they're reading you and you're the dive key or the give key or the pull key or whatever they call it. And you got to be able to do both of those things.
We've only got like 3 guys that have actually played. They got some real snaps at your spot. How valuable can it be bringing in a guy like Nico Cooper as a more experienced option to kind of throw into that mix?
Yeah, we got to get him here and start working with him. We had a good conversation with him last week about about kind of keeping him, on the same schedule through this spring, at least, having the phone conversations of what's kind of going in and stuff like that. So, you never know with guys till they actually get on campus, but I'm excited to get a chance to coach him. He's he's a great guy from what I can tell so far, just talking on the phone. Obviously, these guys have had a great relationship with him, so I'm looking forward to getting him here and getting rolling.
Is Blaze going to be able to do everything this spring, or what's going to his step?
Yeah, I don't know that he'll be able to do everything, but he's still working his way back. We're going to try to get him be able to do as much as we can. Awesome, thanks, guys.